She walked in as a rookie, laughed at, mocked, and humiliated. But when he pulled out this badge, the entire courtroom froze. Welcome to Wealth and Wounds, the channel where real struggles, injustice, and redemption are told through powerful stories. If you believe in justice, truth, and standing up against what's wrong, then make sure to like this video, subscribe, and join our movement. Now, let's get into today's story. The precinct smelled of old coffee and worn leather chairs. It was a busy Monday morning, officers rushing in and out, reports stacked on desks, radios buzzing. In the middle of the chaos, a young black rookie walked in, dressed neatly in his pressed uniform, shoes polished to a mirror shine. His name was Darius Carter, only 23 years old, and it was his very first day on the job. He walked with quiet confidence, clutching a duffel bag, his badge clipped neatly to his chest, though partially covered by his jacket. But confidence was not something the other officers noticed. What they saw was his skin, his youth, and his calm demeanor in a building that thrived on loud voices and harsh authority. At the far end of the room sat Sergeant McAllister, a man known for his booming voice, iron grip on the precinct, and not-so-secret reputation for racial bias. He'd been on the force for over 2 decades, running it like his personal kingdom. Many feared him, some respected him, but few dared to challenge him. As Darius stepped forward, McAllister leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowing. Then came a laugh. "Well, would you look at this?" McAllister bellowed, loud enough for the whole precinct to hear. "They're just letting anybody wear blue these days. Didn't know they started hiring janitors as rookies." The room erupted in chuckles. A few officers tried to hide their discomfort, but nobody dared to defend the rookie. Darius froze in place for just a moment, his jaw tightening, but he said nothing. McAllister wasn't done. He rose from his chair, towering over Darius, smirking. "Son, you sure you're in the right building? The mop closet's down the hall." The rookie's silence only fueled him. "Tell you what, why don't you shine my boots before I let you sit in here? You might as well get used to taking orders the way folks like you always have." The words sliced through the air. The room went quiet. Even the radio chatter seemed to fade. Darius looked around. No one stood up for him. He swallowed, forcing back anger, and simply replied, "With respect, Sergeant, I'm here to serve." McAllister burst into another laugh, shaking his head. "Serve? You can barely stand here without shaking. Don't worry, rookie, stick with me, and maybe I'll teach you what real policing looks like." The laughter resumed. Darius nodded politely, but inside his blood boiled. He had worked his entire life for this moment. He wasn't just another rookie. He wasn't just another recruit off the street. And soon, McAllister was going to find out exactly who he was. The day dragged on. McAllister continued to mock him, assigning him the worst duties, barking orders, making jokes behind his back. Each time, Darius remained calm, carrying out his tasks with quiet dignity. But the breaking point came in the afternoon briefing. A new case was introduced, a major corruption investigation involving city officials and a dangerous crime ring. McAllister stood at the front of the room, pacing, explaining how delicate the case was. Then, with a grin, he pointed at Darius. "Tell you what, why don't we let the rookie fetch coffee while the real cops talk about real cases?" Snickers filled the room. Darius, holding his notebook, slowly stood up. His voice was calm, steady. "Actually, Sergeant, I already know the details of this case." The room froze. McAllister glared. "Excuse me, rookie." Darius reached into his duffel bag. From inside, he pulled out a different badge, sleek, polished, and instantly recognizable. Gasps rippled through the room. On it, engraved in bold letters, Federal Bureau of Investigation. The rookie was not just a rookie. He was an FBI agent assigned undercover, placed in the precinct to investigate McAllister himself. The tables turned. The color drained from McAllister's face. For the first time, the laughter stopped. Officers exchanged glances, realization dawning on them. Darius locked eyes with him, his voice sharp now. "You've spent all day trying to humiliate me. But the truth is, I'm not here to fetch coffee. I'm here because there's evidence of corruption, abuse of power, and misconduct in this very room." McAllister's jaw tightened, his fists clenching. This is some kind of joke. But Darius cut him off, slamming a folder onto the table. Photos, transcripts, and wiretap documents spilled out, detailing bribes, falsified reports, and cover-ups, all linked to McAllister. This isn't a joke, Sergeant. This is an investigation, and you've just become the primary suspect. The room erupted. Officers who had once laughed at Darius now leaned forward, stunned. Some looked relieved, as if they had long suspected McAllister's dirty dealings. The sergeant tried to bark back, his face red with rage. You little, do you have any idea who you're messing with? I run this precinct. Darius didn't flinch. He leaned forward, staring him down. Not anymore. Power shift. By now, the mood in the room had completely shifted. McAllister's booming voice no longer carried authority. It carried desperation. His insults no longer drew laughter. They drew silence. One by one, officers began stepping back from him. A few even nodded toward Darius with newfound respect. And then, the final blow, Darius pulled out a signed letter. Effective immediately, Sergeant McAllister is under investigation by Internal Affairs and the FBI. Until further notice, you are relieved of duty. The sergeant's face twisted in rage. He lunged forward, trying to snatch the letter. But two officers, once his loyal subordinates, stepped in front of him. For the first time in 2 decades, McAllister wasn't giving the orders. He was being silenced. As McAllister was escorted out, Darius stood tall at the front of the room. His voice carried the weight of both pain and triumph. Never underestimate someone because of the way they look. Respect isn't given by rank, or by years, or by skin color. Respect is earned by truth, by justice, and by integrity. Today, that truth came to light. The room erupted, not in laughter, but in applause. Darius had walked in as a rookie mocked for his skin. He stood now as the man who brought justice into a broken system. But this was only the beginning, because as McAllister was led away, he leaned toward Darius, snarling under his breath. You think you've won? You don't know who I answer to. This goes way higher than me. And now they're coming for you. The camera would cut here, leaving viewers with one burning question. If McAllister wasn't the top of the chain, who was really pulling the strings? The heavy metal door clanged shut as Sergeant McAllister was escorted down the precinct hallway, his wrists in handcuffs, his face twisted in rage. For years, he had been untouchable. For years, he had laughed at rookies, silenced whistleblowers, and buried corruption. But now, because of one young black rookie, one FBI agent, his empire was crumbling. Or so it seemed, because McAllister's last words still rang in the air. You don't know who I answer to. This goes way higher than me. And now they're coming for you. The precinct was still buzzing after the shocking reveal. Officers whispered in corners, staring at Agent Darius Carter with a new mix of respect and fear. Moments ago, he had been the rookie everyone mocked. Now, he was a man who took down the most feared sergeant in the building. But Darius felt no triumph. He had seen this play before. The corrupt rarely acted alone. A man like McAllister? He was a pawn on someone else's chessboard. Darius gathered his files, preparing to leave, when his phone buzzed. A restricted number. He answered cautiously. Agent Carter, a deep voice said, distorted. You've made a mistake. You should have left McAllister alone. Before Darius could respond, the line went dead. His stomach tightened. Someone was watching. Someone powerful. Later that evening, Darius met with his handler in a dimly lit underground parking lot. A tall black woman in a dark suit stepped from the shadows. Special Agent in charge Valerie Brooks. She was sharp, stern, and one of the few people Darius trusted. Good work today, she said, her tone calm but serious. But you've stirred the nest. McAllister wasn't acting alone. We've traced financial records, payoffs, money laundering. The trail leads to city officials and maybe even higher. Darius frowned. So who's really in charge? Valerie slid a folder across the hood of the car. Inside was a photo of a smiling man in a tailored suit, shaking hands at a charity gala. Police Commissioner Harold Whitman. The commissioner? Darius whispered. Valerie nodded grimly. McAllister was his enforcer. If Whitman finds out how much you know, you'll have a target on your back. Be careful. The next morning, Darius walked into the precinct, only to feel eyes burning into him. The laughter was gone, replaced with hushed conversations and suspicious glares. Suddenly, the room fell silent. Commissioner Whitman himself walked in, tall, polished, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. His presence alone commanded the room. He shook a few hands, clapped backs, then finally turned his gaze on Darius. "So, you're the famous rookie everyone's been whispering about," Whitman said smoothly. "The one who thinks he's smarter than 20 years of experience." His tone was polite, but laced with venom. Darius met his gaze. "Just doing my job, sir." Whitman leaned closer, his voice dropping so only Darius could hear. "Careful, son. Heroes don't last long in this city." With a smirk, he patted Darius on the shoulder and walked away. It wasn't just a warning. It was a threat. That night, Darius returned to his apartment, only to find the door ajar. His instincts kicked in. Hand on his firearm, he crept inside. The place was ransacked. Drawers pulled out, papers scattered, photos smashed. And on his kitchen table, a single envelope. He opened it slowly. Inside was a photo of his younger sister, smiling at her college graduation. On the back, in red ink, were 3 chilling words. "We are watching." Darius's hands trembled, not with fear, but with rage. Whoever was behind this wasn't just coming for him. They were coming for his family. Instead of backing down, Darius doubled down. He spent the next week digging deeper into Whitman's financials, tracing offshore accounts, finding hidden connections. The deeper he went, the more dangerous it became. One night, Valerie called. "Darius, we have enough to confront him, but this won't be easy. The commissioner has friends in high places. If you make this move, there's no turning back." Darius didn't hesitate. "Then we make the move." The city gala was in full swing. Politicians, businessmen, and police brass mingled under sparkling chandeliers. Cameras flashed as Commissioner Whitman gave a speech about integrity and service. But in the middle of his speech, a voice cut through the crowd. "Funny word, integrity," Darius said, stepping forward, a folder in hand. Gasps filled the room. The commissioner's smile faltered. "Because when I look at these financial records," Darius continued, holding up documents, "I don't see integrity. I see payoffs. I see corruption. I see blood money tied to the very crimes you swore to stop." The room erupted in murmurs. Whitman's mask cracked. His voice turned sharp. "You've overstepped, rookie." Darius didn't back down. "No, sir. I've just begun." Security rushed toward Darius, but before they could grab him, a woman in the crowd stood up. The commissioner's own secretary. She pointed at Whitman, her voice trembling but loud. "It's true. I've seen the transfers, the meetings, the deals. He's been running this whole thing." The room exploded. Reporters swarmed, guests gasped, cameras flashed. Whitman's face twisted in rage. He grabbed the microphone, shouting, "You'll regret this, Carter. You don't know who you're fighting." And then, the lights went out. The gala plunged into blackness. Screams echoed. Darius reached for his gun, his training kicking in. Then a spotlight flicked on, directly on him. And from the shadows, a voice boomed. "Agent Carter, you were warned." The crowd parted as masked men in black suits stormed in, weapons drawn. Not ordinary thugs, professional operatives. Darius realized with chilling clarity, Whitman wasn't the top either. He was just another pawn. There was someone else. Someone bigger. The last scene freezes on Darius, standing firm in the spotlight, surrounded by armed men as the commissioner smirks in the shadows. Who is really pulling the strings above the commissioner? And will Darius survive long enough to bring the truth to light? This fight isn't over. In fact, it's only just beginning. If you believe truth always wins, hit that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, share this story with someone who needs it, and subscribe to Wealth and Wounds so you don't miss part 2. Trust me, you'll want to see what happens next.